Hi, welcome to our daily encounter. Today we begin the book of Romans. The book of Romans is one of the best loved books in the New Testament. It's a book that is good for a person who's new to the Christian faith or curious about the Christian faith because it gives a very general outline of what the Christian life is all about. And it's also a good book for those who are mature in the faith, who want to go back and look at some of the more profound truths. So it's one of those that you can just glean general truths from, and one that you can really dig deep and find some really precious treasure in. It was probably written around AD 56 by Paul. I believe it was in Corinth when he wrote this epistle, and it's a little different than the rest of Paul's epistles. Usually he wrote to churches that he founded, to people that he knew, but here he's writing to a church that he did not found, and one in which a lot of them he had not met. And so it's a little different in that aspect. As far as our devotion today, I thought we might take some time and think about chapter 1 and verse 21, where Paul talks about the beginning of the downward spiral of this society that he's describing, most likely describing the Gentile nations, in contrast to chapter 2 where he focuses on the Jewish nation. He starts out by saying that the wrath of God is revealed against all ungodliness and unrighteousness. And he talks about the fact that people ought to have known better than to turn away from the Lord, because all of his divine attributes and his power are evident through the things that he has created. So this is what theologians call natural revelation. This is God revealing, or general revelation. This is God revealing himself generally through nature. And because of that, people ought to be able to look at the creation and say there must have been a creator for various reasons. But it's interesting what started this downward spiral. It says that even though they knew God, so there was a point in time when they did know God and know about God, but even though they knew God, they didn't honor him as God, and they didn't give thanks. So I wanted to focus on that today, because yesterday we celebrated Thanksgiving, which was really a holiday all about giving thanks to God. And this section of scripture shows us just how important it is for us to give thanks to God, because as you go down and you read the rest of this chapter, you see you see this downward spiral. You see towards the end of the chapter, you just see basically sin just let loose. All types of sins being committed by these nations, and it all started with one, not honoring God, and secondly, not giving thanks. And that can be really the beginning of our downward fall as individuals. When we cease to honor God and not give him thanks, that's just the beginning. Whenever we take God out of the picture, when we stop giving him the credit for our successes, give him the credit for our blessings, and we begin to either internalize those and make it as though we achieve these things and obtain these things, or if we take that and say that, well, I got it because of this person or this thing, it's the same thing. That's what these Gentile nations had done. They had stopped honoring God and giving him thanks, and then began to worship the creation instead of the creator, and started worshiping idols. And whenever we put other things above God, whenever we accredit our successes and whatever else to someone or something else than God, that is ultimate, of course. Of course, there's people that help us along the way, and we need to give credit to people who help us and things like that. But ultimately, we should be giving God the honor, the credit, and the gratitude. If we cease to do that and we leave God out of the picture, then we open ourselves up to falling away and slipping away from God. And before we know it, we'll be doing things that we never even imagined we'd ever do before. But the opposite is true as well. If we will even begin today to say, look, I am going to start honoring God with all of my heart and revering him with everything that I have, loving Him above everything else. And I'm going to make a commitment to having a heart of gratitude, not just on the day of Thanksgiving, but 365 days a year. Wake up every morning with a grateful heart and giving God the credit for the blessings, for the successes, for everything that is good in our lives. James chapter 1 talks about how God is, that every good and perfect thing comes from the Father. And that is absolutely true. Everything that you see that is good in your life is a blessing and should be accredited to God and given thanks to Him for. If we can get our mind straight and our perspective in line, it will help us through the rest of our attempts to serve God and to live before Him. So this is very, very important. So let's dedicate ourselves today, the day after Thanksgiving, to continue to give God thanks for everything that He has done, especially the things that He's done for us in Jesus Christ, and giving us every spiritual blessing in the heavenly places through Him, as Ephesians chapter 1 and verse 3 states. Well, thank you guys for listening in today. I hope you guys have a great day. Love you guys. God bless.